Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Terry Hegarty. I'll be reporting from Montmarie in Holyoke about a special upcoming appeal by the Sisters of St. Joseph.
I'm David Martin. I'll have the story of Virginia Dillon, the new executive director here at Homework House in Holyoke, who hopes to continue the spirit and mission of the Sisters of St. Joseph, who founded Homework House.
And we celebrate the Red Sox World Series championship, highlighting some local Fenway fanatics. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel from Mount Marie in Holyoke.
From throughout Western New England and beyond, this is Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Here is your Reel to Reel host, Sharon Roulier.
Hello and welcome to Reel from Mount Marie in Holyoke, the mother house of the Sisters of St. Joseph. The sisters, who have served in this diocese for more than a century, now find themselves in need of help from the local Catholic community and are seeking assistance from those who they have ministered to throughout the years. The problem is at once simple yet vast in scope: the need to finance the healthcare needs of their aging membership. Terry Hegarty tells us now how the religious community is planning to reach out in an appeal next weekend.
Since 1883, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Springfield have served tens of thousands of people across western Massachusetts. Over the last several decades, with a decrease in vocations, the average age of sisters in the community has dramatically increased. At the same time, expenses associated with caring for their aging population have also risen sharply. Currently, only 1/4 of the retirement needs of the sisters are funded. In response, the sisters are appealing to the people that they served.
Without outside help, we will not make it. We truly need to do significant fundraising and turn to our many friends, turn to those whom we help to educate, turn to colleagues, and ask for help.
People can answer that request for help through a special parish appeal next weekend. Flyers detailing some of the fiscal problems offer parishioners an opportunity to say thank you to the sisters for their years of dedicated ministry. The Sisters of St. Joseph are most well known for educating the young in our diocese, but the sisters were not paid much for their years of hard work and dedication. Sister Maxine recalls when she began teaching at Cathedral High School.
I was very young and thinking, well, they wouldn't even have to pay me to do this. I love it so much. Of course, that was not a very practical outlook, but the feeling was there. And even among those who were certainly more foresighted than I was at that age, we loved what we did. We weren't doing it for money. We were doing it because this is what we felt called by God to do.
While the congregation operates in the diocese, it is not a diocesan entity. It is an independent community.
Now, as the sisters get older, they don't have the income they once had, and the costs, of course, have skyrocketed for taking care of older people, and they have a responsibility to their sisters. And I think we have a responsibility to those sisters to help them as best we can, to make sure that their later years are filled with concern and compassion and help so that they might live decent lives in community.
O God, come to my assistance.
If you go back well over a century, the sisters were teaching in schools. Well over a century they were involved in parish ministries. Well over a century they've been involved in reaching out to us in all different ways in our parishes throughout the diocese. And now, as they reached out once to us, they're asking us to reach out to them.
Over the last several years, the sisters have further analyzed their fiscal situation and reduced expenses substantially. They are studying ways to leverage their property at Mount Marie. 2 elderly housing complexes have opened within the last decade, making use of buildings that had become a financial drain. Since the 1990s, the Montmarie Healthcare Center has been open to the general public, not just the sisters. The residences are open to the general public as well. Sister Maxine says that 2 other buildings on the campus would lend themselves to development, which would further ease the operational expenses of the community. The appeal is designed to secure the future of hundreds of sisters, and Sister Maxine says that no matter the outcome, the congregation of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Springfield will continue.
I have tremendous confidence that we are going to pull through this very difficult time for our congregation. We will continue to be about the ministry. We will continue to have a presence at Mount Marie.
Sister Maxine was inspired to become a Sister of St. Joseph because of the sisters who ministered to her as a child.
What I would tell you, you would hear from so many sisters my age across the country, that we were inspired to become members of the religious congregation because of the sisters who taught us. At St. Joe North Adams, we had some wonderful teachers. Their world was a big world in terms of thought, in terms of challenge. They were warm, they were enthusiastic. I love being a Sister of St. Joseph. I can't imagine anything I would want to be besides.
The Sisters of St. Joseph are also known for their important work in other ministries, helping those in need in all areas of life.
I would say to those who have known our sisters, whether it's in schools or parishes or agencies, wherever they have come in contact with our sisters, if you're able to help, we will be so grateful. We can promise you this, that we will use the support you give us to keep on being active in ministry, because that's why we exist, and to care for our elders. We can't do both well without help.
People can help by making a pledge through their parish next weekend. Sister Maxine says she and all of the Sisters of St. Joseph are extremely grateful to those who have already made contributions, and she says that she's confident that parishioners will respond with similar generosity. Reporting for Reel to Reel, this is Terry Hegarty.
Again, the special collection will be taken up in all parishes next weekend, November 9th and 10th. Joining me now is Father Matthew Alcombright from Mary Mother of Hope Parish in Springfield, who has some exciting news of an event coming up in just a few weeks. Thank you so much for joining us today, Father.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sharon.
Now, Father, just last year, you and a group of priests revived a tradition of putting on concerts for good causes. And so, what do you have planned now?
Well, the priests have kind of decided in the need for the SSJs, we've decided to do a concert for them to benefit them, and so that will be on November 24th, 3 p.m. in Chicopee. The singing priests are back, and we are singing for our sisters in what they're calling a medley of hope.
And what is in store for those attending, and how can they get tickets?
What's in store, hopefully, is a lot of fun, a lot of good singing, and just a wonderful time to be in support of our sisters. To get tickets, I believe there's information available by calling Mount Marie to obtain tickets there.
All right, Father Matthew Alcombright from Mary Mother of Hope Parish in Springfield, and one of the organizers of the Singing Priests. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's wonderful to be here, Sharon.
And as Father Matthew mentioned, if you would like tickets, you can call Mount Marie at 536-0853. And not too far from here is a program started a few years back by 2 Sisters of St. Joseph, Homework House. Well, this summer the program welcomed a new director, Virginia Dillon, who brings a wealth of experience managing nonprofit organizations to the Holyoke-based organization. Her resume includes operating a support network for women and family law practice, both in California, as well as Holyoke's Girls, Inc. David Martin caught up with Virginia at Homework House's Summer Street location and tells us more.
Virginia Dillon, who was recently named the new executive director of the Homework House, hopes she can continue to tap into the spirit, the vision, and ideals of the Sisters of St. Joseph at the same time enlarging and strengthening the program. She began her nonprofit career by providing legal and supportive services to women who were in abusive relationships on the West Coast. But she was born in New York and became anxious to return to her roots. Virginia was hired as the executive director at Girls Inc. in Holyoke, which provides academic support to girls at an early age.
Putting more emphasis on educational outcomes, tying the work that we did more closely to what the girls were doing in school, and tutoring and mentoring.
Virginia said that experience is what she will bring to Homework House. She said things will change for the kids coming there only if they have the proper literacy and math skills they can use in the larger vocation world. Virginia is looking forward to interacting and becoming familiar with the children at Homework House. She said the kids are what really keeps her going.
Once the kids start dribbling in at 3 o'clock, your workday kind of is over, doing the administrative piece, and it really becomes about, the kids, they want to show you what they've worked on in school, they want to tell you a story, and that, to me, is very exciting.
Angelica Lopez enjoys coming to Homework House, where the tutors help with English, science, and math.
They help us learn, like, the same thing we learn in school, but explaining us better.
Angelica said it is fun to work with other students like her friend Natanya Rodriguez. Natanya said coming to Homework House allows her to be more focused at school, do exceptionally well on tests, and get higher grades.
Homework House will make me a better student by passing grades and getting into a high school and college and get a good career and be an artist someday and learn more about math.
Virginia Dillon said the founders of Homework House, Sister Jane Morrissey and Sister Maureen Broham, are very inspiring to her, and she hopes to carry on their work in the way they envisioned it, helping children here in Holyoke at risk of academic failure find success in their education.
Given the strength of the staff that we have here, not only Sister Maureen and Sister Jane, Sister Kathy and Bruno, who works here at this site, and Sister Margaret Kenny, all of them have a wealth of experience in education as educators and working in the community with these kids. And I feel I'm excited about getting to work with such skilled women.
Sister of St. Joseph, Kathleen and Bruno, the site director at Homework House on North Sumner Street in Holyoke, said Virginia will make an excellent executive director because she has good instincts. Sister Kathleen said the mission of the Sisters of St. Joseph will continue at Homework House because of the number of sisters who are helping the students in the community.
Well, we're hoping that they will improve their skills in reading, especially in reading and in math. And that's, certainly what we're aiming for. That's what we're here for, so that they won't, be subject to failure in school.
Paul Grennan said he enjoys tutoring at Homework House because it is his chance to give back to the community.
For a volunteer program, these kids run to the school. What is with this? Who ever heard of kids running into a school looking forward to it? If that doesn't motivate you from the go, nothing will.
Virginia feels she is going to be involved in a program that is constantly growing and will also have a real input on the forward direction of the organization, which she thinks is poised to be better, stronger, and have more impact as it continues into the future.
Oftentimes people think serving more is more success, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think serving who you're serving well, to the best of your ability, even if that means a smaller group, I think that's really success.
Virginia said Homework House has done so much in a small amount of time. She feels being the executive director for the organization is a meaningful occupation, which she said is very, very important to her. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm David Martin.
And Homework House is very much in need of more volunteer tutors and mentors. Those who are interested and can spare just a few hours can call 413-265-1017. And still to come on Reel to Reel, a Westfield Boy Scout works to reshape his parish's grounds. And we celebrate the Red Sox World Series championship, highlighting some local Fenway fanatics. These stories and more are still to come on this edition of Reel to Reel.
Long have I waited for The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passion's Brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to join us on Sunday morning at 10. Join us this week as we welcome Father David Darcy and celebrate the 31st Sunday in Ordinary Time and begin our tradition of remembering our deceased loved ones. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday morning at 10 here on 22 News.
I'm Dan Dimas with your Reel to Reel news brief. The Vatican announced on Tuesday that Toledo, Ohio Bishop Leonard Blair has been named to succeed Archbishop Henry Mansell as the next leader for the Archdiocese of Hartford. Bishop Blair appeared later that same morning at a press conference at St. Thomas Seminary in Bloomfield, where he expressed his appreciation on being named to his new post.
But I do pledge to you all my love and effort to serve Christ by serving you, as together we seek to walk and help others to walk what Christ himself calls the narrow road that leads to life.
After almost 10 years as Hartford's spiritual leader, Archbishop Mansell submitted his resignation last October when he turned 75. Bishop Blair, a native of Detroit, has overseen the Toledo Diocese since 2003. He will be installed as Archbishop on December 16th at St. Joseph's Cathedral in Hartford. Finally, during this month, when we remember our deceased loved ones, a Chicopee student beautified Calvary Cemetery in Chicopee and created a place for prayer for visitors. Peggy Weber tells us more.
Adam Gelinas is certainly proof that one person can make a difference. A junior at Chicopee High, Adam decided to focus his Eagle Scout project on his parish cemetery.
I know a lot of the families that go to the church and have relatives in the cemetery, and there's really no place to sit down and pray for loved ones, so I thought it would be a nice idea to have something for them.
Adam has been an altar server for 10 years and was in the last graduating class of the former Holy Name School. He is well known in the parish and got up at the weekend masses last spring and asked his fellow parishioners for their time, talent, or treasure to support his efforts. In addition to creating a meditation garden and bench, he helped replace the statue of St. John.
My grandparents are buried here, and I came here as a child all the time, and the statue of John was never here.
Bay State Monument donated the bench, and the parishioners helped with the rest. It was encouraging to all, including Father Darius Vodarski, pastor.
It is very important, sensitive, and inspiring to see young people taking initiative in beautifying or being interested in their religion. And this is a prime example of growing spirituality, or one aspect of it.
Members of the parish and Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts from Troop 454 of Holy Name Parish gathered for a blessing of the new statue of St. John.
And the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, who is crowning the glory of all the saints.
I'm ecstatic. My uncle lives right across the street from here, and he says he sees a lot of people over here all the time, just sitting around praying. It just feels really good to know that it's being used.
And Adam's dad, who is his scout leader, says Adam also has earned 3 special Catholic Scouting Awards and is working on a 4th.
What a great effort. And if you're looking for some inspiring choral music for a great cause, on Saturday, November 9th, the 6th annual Show Your Heart concert will be held at St. Michael's Cathedral, featuring 5 choral groups. All proceeds will go to the Open Pantry. The concert begins at 7:30 p.m. And you can get more information on that event, as well as keep up to date on all the happenings both here in the Diocese of Springfield and beyond, by logging on to our news and information website, iobserve.org. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dimas, and that's your Reel to Reel news brief.
Catholic Scouting has shaped a lot of young men and women in the Diocese of Springfield. At Blessed Sacrament Parish in Westfield, a young scout working on his Eagle Scout badge reshaped a prayerful area of the parish grounds. The work was enhanced by a dedicated couple with some green thumbs. Peggy Weber tells us more.
What do you get when you mix one aspiring Eagle Scout with 2 retired parishioners? Well, the result is a beautifully landscaped outdoor Stations of the Cross garden at Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Parish in Westfield. This place of quiet and beauty began when Matt Peralt approached his pastor, Father Dan Pekalik, about an Eagle Scout project.
I was trying to think of different places to do it, and I didn't really have a whole lot of ideas, so I went to Father Dan. Like, is there anything that maybe the church, parish could use to be enhanced or something like that? And he thought about it for a little while, and then we talked, and he eventually came up with this.
This, of course, is an outdoor Stations prayer garden. The stations themselves came from St. Louis de France Parish in West Springfield. The effort to create it came from many places. Matt and his fellow scouts from Troop 109 of St. Mary Parish in Westfield held a car wash to raise funds in order to buy materials to build the station shelters.
We started by measuring the stations, the ceramic pieces, and then I came up with the design, and then it was just kind of work in projects.
He worked with his dad, Greg, and his mom, Janice. He was inspired by the fact that his dad and his older brother, Evan, also are Eagle Scouts.
We figured out what the whole area looked like maybe in the spring of last year, and then we started to, okay, we can put one on this tree, and then we just kind of made the path based on the way the landscape was.
Matt's mom helped him paint the beautiful ceramic stations. She also suggested adding the prayer box at the beginning of the garden path. His dad helped with the construction. In June, the outdoor stations were completed, and Matt went off to serve as a camp counselor at a Boy Scout camp in Connecticut. Around that time, Cindy and Paul Lucier approached Father Dan about doing some gardening work for the parish.
We spoke with Father Dan about taking care of one of the gardens for our project, and we didn't know about this project at the time, and he picked us up on that and offered us the option of putting some plantings in the station's garden.
It became a true labor of love, and the couple spent hours adding plants and rock sculpture and more mulch to enhance Matthew's project.
We joined this parish approximately 3 years ago, and we just felt very comfortable here, and we wanted to become a part of it. And it just seemed a natural thing to be able to create or add to this garden that Matthew has started. And it just feels really good to be able to give something to the parish.
The outdoor stations and garden actually has become a work of many. Several parishioners donated plantings, and one added a deer to match the one from the former Blessed Sacrament Rectory. Cindy and Paul and Matt actually met for the first time when being interviewed by Reel to Reel.
I was amazed at what Matthew did for his project. I think it's admirable for a teenager to take on something and complete it and have a vision.
And Paul added that it wasn't just the parish that benefited from this project.
Everything we've done, we've gotten back twofold. It's just amazing. Our life is getting better every day just because we're giving a little of ourselves to the parish and to our fellow human beings. A wonderful experience, and you don't have to be afraid, because if you're doing something good, God will take care of you and make it all work.
With teamwork and hard work, a spiritual and ecological transformation has created a place of beauty and prayer for all. For Reel to Reel, I'm Peggy Weber.
What a great team effort, which is also how you might describe this week's improbable conclusion to the baseball season, with the Boston Red Sox claiming the World Series championship just a year after they finished in last place in their division. But that passion compares little to the generations of New Englanders who have grown up as avid Red Sox fans. Earlier in September, we highlighted a few of them who were featured this summer in a new book. Red Sox fans are a passionate group. In Fenway Fanatics, author Greg Pearson shares the memories of more than 50 Sox fans. Some well-known, like retired UConn basketball coach Jim Calhoun and Boston Pops conductor Keith Lockhart. Some are old, some young. Many, of course, are from New England, while others live as far away as Japan. Pearson, who grew up in Connecticut and now lives in Wisconsin, wrote for the former Holyoke Transcript Telegram. He recently told his story to residents of the Arbors in Chicopee, 2 of whom are featured in his book. He told the residents about the couple who postponed the birth of their child because delivery day conflicted with opening day. The fan who built a replica of Fenway Park in his backyard, and the Marine general who became a friend of Ted Williams.
You know, you get pretty passionate when you care about a team. Sometimes it's in a point where it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we all have that feeling of, caring that deeply about this squad.
2 devoted fans featured in Chapter 43 are Arbors residents Alice Keyes and Barbara Burns. Alice is a lifelong fan of the game. Originally, she liked the Cardinals, but the 1946 World Series changed her mind.
And I kept hearing pesky to door, door to York, third base, second base, first base. That double play was all through the whole thing, and I said, gee, they're playing good ball, and I had to picture them in my mind. And even though the Cardinals won the series, I said, I think I'll become a Red Sox fan.
Barbara, on the other hand, didn't become interested in baseball until her husband passed away in the early 1990s. She was bored and went to visit her friend in Maine.
I didn't know anything about the Red Sox, and I used to go to her place in Maine, and we used to watch it, and I didn't understand it. And she explained it to me, and ever since then.
Chapter 1 in Fenway Fanatics is entitled The Sister, featuring our own Sister of St. Joseph, Catherine Hamrock, whose love for baseball began in her childhood.
She's such a fan, and she's so eloquent, and she just had wonderful stories to tell about remembering where she was when the ball went through Bill Buckner's legs, when Bucky Dent hit his home run against the Red Sox, when they won in 2004. I mean, those are all moments that Red Sox fans have shared over the years, and she was a terrific part of trying to bring that together. And because she was the first one that I really started the project with, I made her the first chapter in the book.
It's a good book. Greg is a very good writer, so I was delighted when I read through the chapters, and I just loved the way he captured my foolishness, as a Red Sox fan. He did it beautifully and gently.
She grew up loving the Red Sox because they were her father's team. And of course, there was Ted Williams, her first love.
As a 12-year-old, when you begin to look for heroes in your life, and he became my hero. And he continued to be my hero until I entered religious life, and then I realized that, no, there's more to life than human heroes. There are bigger heroes, like Jesus.
And for this team that's often bigger than life, there's always hope, and there's always a chance if you are a Fenway fanatic. And this week, those Red Sox fans, like so many of us across New England and the country, were again rewarded with a World Series championship. If you'd like a copy of Fenway Fanatics, we have some available through Catholic Communications. Call our viewer phone line at 413-452-0645 and leave your name and daytime phone number, and someone will be in touch with you. That's 413-452-0645, and the cost is just $16. Please join me at this same time next week for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Have a great week.